I don't like the move. I don't. I don't think it's not a needle mover whatsoever. It doesn't, I think, make you very much better, but I understand why they did it. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells so you know when these episodes go live. Not doing a live episode tonight. Going to talk a little bit about the All-Star game, the trade that went down today, and then the back half of the show will be a mailbag. I say back half. It's going to be the majority of the episode. First 15 minutes here is going to be just some monologuing from me. The show, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible here at Kansas City Sports Network and on the One Royal Way podcast. Can't thank them enough for that support, allowing us to do this multiple times a week, and you guys continue to love it, and I appreciate that. All-Star game last night, along with the Home Run Derby down in Atlanta. I thought everything was great. The Derby was awesome. Cal Raleigh ends up winning it. Not often does the favorite end up winning and kind of dominating wire to wire. So that was cool to see. O'Neal Cruz put on a show. Junior Caminero talked about it on the radio with Jason Anderson and Sterling Holmes earlier in the week that the guy had the lowest odds, but I thought maybe he could make some noise, and he certainly did. Had an opportunity to win there. Was there in the finals, which was awesome to see. My pick, James Wood, didn't make it out of the top four. So tells you how much I know about trying to pick the Home Run Derby. That happens. Either I pick the guy that's going to win, or my guy gets bounced really early and doesn't have a good performance. So it is what it is. The All-Star game, fantastic spectacle as always. Seeing the guys in their home uniforms was the best part of this. Too long of the All-Star game specific jerseys, but seeing everybody in their home or road uniforms, just their team jersey, was great to see because it makes it feel more like the All-Star game where everybody's getting to play together, and you see multiple guys put on a really good show. Skeens blowing hundos. Scooble and Raleigh mic'd up was cool, but Scooble kind of got shelled. But neither of those guys was throwing anything but fastballs. Like that was what I noticed a lot out of this from the pitchers, was they weren't showing off their stuff. They were like, hey, I'm just gonna throw heaters and get out of here. That may be the way that they kind of saved themselves a little bit for the second half. Chris Bubich gets in the game and immediately gets shelled. Walks. It was like a walk single home run to Pete Alonso. Tough scene, but I'd rather him give up the home run in an exhibition game. But still awesome for him to get into the game. Carlos Estevez had a pretty solid inning there, two strikeouts, and another that could have been a strikeout, but they didn't head tap for the ABS system, which was also great to see that they used the automatic ball strike challenge system. I think 4 times during the game, and all 4 times the challenge was successful. This is why I think it's going to be great for a couple of reasons. One, it still allows for the quote unquote human element to still exist. And having umpires call balls and strikes, they still have a job and a function. But if they get a call wrong, or it's perceived they got a call wrong, hey, let's look at that again. And then we get the call right. One way that either the umpire is vindicated in his call, or, hey, he missed that one a ball and a half outside. That's a ball. I didn't get punched out there. And that happened multiple times. Remember Scooble against Machado. Beautiful changeup down and away ball. And they looked at it and the entire ball is in the strike zone. Strike 3. It allows the calls to be correct, players to not get screwed, but still allows umpires to make every call. And you can't just challenge every play. Like, you only have a certain amount of them throughout the game. I think you start with 2. And if you get 2 correct, you retain your challenge. But once you get 2 wrong, then you lose it. So you have to use it sort of strategically, which is what I like about it. Like Edwin Diaz in the 9th inning, it's called a ball outside. I can't remember who he was facing. I can't remember who it was. Regardless, nips the outside corner. He taps, and it's strike 3. It was, instead of being ball 3, it's strike 3. The inning's over. I thought that was awesome to see it in use and it be used successfully. The other storyline that I found really fascinating out of this was Jacob Mizorowski. And I'll get to the 9th inning and the other 2 Royals because they kind of played a part late in this game. But Mizorowski throws five innings or 5 games, and he's an all-star. Now, there's part of me, a small part of me, it's like it's an exhibition showcase. I want to see a dude throw 102. Like there's the very caveman-like part of my brain that is like, I want to watch the tall guy throw hard. And I want to watch him do, and he did throw 102 with sliders at 96. Like that's awesome. He's only done it for 5 games. I was even a little hesitant when they gave Skeens the nod last year after only 10 or 11 outings. And this guy had half of that. It makes for it being a very interesting discussion. I think there's a mailbag question that gets into this a little further. So I'll stop myself now and I'll mention that because it kind of relays into the question. Mike Hill gets into the game. Plays a great third base, draws a walk, steals second, ends up getting to third, and ends up scoring on an RBI ground out of Bobby Witt Jr. Awesome to see those two. And then Bobby comes up again in the 9th, game on the line. It's 6-4, runner on second, and Robert Suarez, throws a sinker down, and Bobby just shoots it to right field. Beautiful piece of hitting. He gets the second, ends up scoring the tying run. And then we get to the swing off, which also was awesome to see Bobby in that spot. That kind of goes without saying. Like you see him come up in that spot was a big time, even if it is just an exhibition. Like awesome to see. The swing off was awesome. The swing off, home run derby, whatever you want to call it, to win was fantastic TV. And that's what this is. It's a television product. So we got to make it interesting. And with both teams out of pitchers, there's no reason to do the Milwaukee 0-2 thing and have a tie. Now we get to see dudes just hit home runs. And Kyle Schwarber, I mean, it's a bit hyperbolic. It's one of the more clutch things I've seen. Like, hitting a home run is not easy, but to be like, all right, I'm just going to go and do this on 3 swings and to go 3 for 3 was awesome. And it was predetermined who was going to go. They talked about it before the game. This is basically with the understanding of Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Pete Alonso, like a lot of these guys, not Pete Alonso, but other like big name starters had already showered and left and like we're gone. So they couldn't participate. So it's kind of the bench guys, the reserves that were participating in this. That's how you end up with Kyle Stowers and Jonathan Aranda in an event like this. Which is where hot dog, and I can't believe I'm criticizing a manager for a decision in a freaking all-star game. But how do you go with Jonathan Aranda over Bobby Witt Jr.? Bobby Witt Jr. almost won the home run derby last season. Like, how do you not go with that guy? I don't know. I thought that was baffling. And it's nothing against Jonathan Aranda. Like, the dude made the all-star game. He's been one of the better hitters in the league this year. Credit to him. Bobby Witt Jr. should have been in that spot. Without many other superstars, because it was Brent Rooker, Randy Rosarena, and Jonathan Aranda. People know Rooker is a little bit because he was in the Derby. Randy obviously has had some big-time playoff moments. And then Aranda is kind of a no name is wrong. A guy that is not as well known. And then it's Kyle Stowers, Kyle Schwarber, and Pete Alonso. Like, there's just, it's not outside of Pete, and Schwarber, there just wasn't the star power. Bobby Witt Jr. provides a little bit of star power. He's one of the best players in the league. He should have been in there. That was a bad decision by Aaron Boone. But again, it's an all-star game. It's an exhibition, whatever. I was expecting a pretty quiet day with the all-star game being gone. A couple days off, and as much as it sucks to not have baseball for a couple days, I was kind of happy to have just a couple of quiet days where I can just kind of chill, go to bed early, and just kind of, not have to worry about watching and kind of hang on every pitch of these games. And it was reported by Robert Murray, who's very well sourced, does a very, very good job covering the sport, that the Royals made a trade for Adam Frazier, and they shipped out Cam Devaney to Pittsburgh. This made its way on Royals Twitter, and it has been a point of contention, and that might be a very generous way to describe this. Y'all know who Adam Frazier is. He was on the team last season. He is not much different this year compared to what he was last year. Now, last year for the Royals, he slashed 202, 282, 294. It was just not very good, but he also only played 104 games. Like, he was He got forced into everyday duty at times due to injuries and lack of performance in spots, but really he was meant to come in and be a bench guy, and he was that down the stretch of the season. I don't even think he was on the postseason roster. And then so far this year in Pittsburgh, in 78 games, slashing 255, 318, 336. So not much better. It's still an 83 OPS plus. He's still not a very good hitter, or at this point in his career, he's just not the same guy that a couple of years ago. He had some solid years in Pittsburgh at the beginning of his career, but he's just not that guy anymore. But they trade for him. I'll preface it this way: I don't like the move. I don't think it's not a needle mover whatsoever. It doesn't, I think, make you very much better, but I understand why they did it. And sound off in the comments on, me trying to rationalize the decision, whatever. He's got a 318 on base, which would be 6th on the Royals. Think about that. Now 318 on base is not awesome, but again, low bar to clear, but it's a solid enough on base for a guy that's going to play 2 to 3 times a week, more than likely. We're going to play some left field, second base, move on from there. There is a known commodity aspect where you kind of know what you're going to get from Adam Frazier. Now, that's not spectacular, but you know what you're going to get day in, day out. And Andy Rogers mentioned it, and it wasn't something that I had really thought of, because when we thought about the clubhouse leaders for this team last season, but he was loved in that clubhouse last year and was kind of and I don't know if it's necessarily a leader, but he was a good clubhouse guy. There is something to be said for that. We talked about there being just something off or missing, and I'm not saying Adam Frazier's the missing piece, but he's got a little kind of red ass, hard ass kind of mentality to him. Just that's how I've always perceived it. And frankly, this clubhouse kind of needs that. They don't really they got Vinny's kind of that guy, but we also see that how Vinny is on Twitter. There's kind of the two sides to the coin. So from that perspective, okay, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's a needle mover. I don't think it makes the Royals much better. It doesn't help you improve. I don't think it helps you win ball games. Now here's the flip side of it. Well, I guess one more point on Frazier. It improves your bench by a fairly significant margin. John Rave, Tyler Tolbert, those guys, those aren't needle movers either. Tolbert for the pure ability to pinch run, but that's it. John Rave has done basically nothing. He hasn't done much to really show oh yes, he deserves every day at bats. So as much as it may hurt to admit, but it does. An 83 OPS plus on your bench is an improvement. And hopefully that's just what he is. And he is not he doesn't need to get thrown into everyday duty. I think the only way he does is if there's injuries that are associated. Now to the Cam Devaney side. People are up in arms about it, because how can you give up on a guy with 6 years of club control and a young guy that he didn't even debut. He just they called him up and then didn't do anything. Cam Devaney, as good of a story as he was this year, is a 28-year-old non-prospect. He was organizational depth when they traded for him last year when they sent Taylor Clark to Milwaukee. At that point, he was a 27-year-old shortstop that was organizational depth. Now, he improved from last year to this year and showed he probably deserved a chance. This is not me saying he can't play in the big leagues. But what I'm saying is you're not giving up on a 23-year-old top 100 prospect for Adam Frazier. You're sending out organizational depth that is probably going to be organizational depth in Pittsburgh. Maybe gets a cup of coffee because the Pirates are bad, and they might trade Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and there's going to be an opportunity for him to play for 2 months to see what he has. And also, I understand the 6 years of control part of it. Are we even sure that Cam Devaney is going to be a big leaguer in 6 years? The likelihood of that is pretty slim. I know the examples of Mike Aviles and Whit Merrifield have been those guys were 27 when they debuted, 28. Yeah, those are exceptions, not the rules. Mike Aviles was a damn near 5-win player as a rookie. Whit Merrifield established himself pretty quickly as a guy that can play in the big leagues every day. I don't think Cam Devaney can. And I think we saw that by the fact that they called him up and then he never played. where this offense needed a spark somewhere, and he didn't get a shot until mid-July to even come up to the big leagues. A guy that hit the ball well in AAA, but how much have we seen? Jack Aglione, Nick Lofton, better lately, but stretch there. He wasn't very great. Tyler Tolbert, John Rave, Drew Waters. The gap between AAA pitching and Major League pitching is vast. The offensive environment in AAA, you're playing in bandbox parks, you're playing hitter-friendly environments more often than not. So that's why offense is not as suppressed. And these guys hit really well, and then they come to the majors, and it's a completely different game. And I don't think the Royals wanted to take the chance on another guy that, hey, he earned the call-up, to his credit. But how much was it going to matter? Because we've seen 5 examples of guys that have mashed at AAA and can't hit that well in the big leagues right now. Jack's a little bit of a different example just because he is a legit top 20 prospect in all of baseball, like going to get better. Like there's way more ceiling with him than any of the other guys I mentioned that had time at AAA and did well. But I'm not losing sleep over them trading Cam Devaney. Maybe a little if we're trading for Adam Frazier, but a veteran bench bat for Ord depth is a move that you see all the time. People are just up in arms about it because they want to complain about everything. It is what it is. I'm not moved by the trade. I'm not up in arms. I'm not happy about it. It's just kind of nothing to me because I don't think it makes the Royals better, but I also don't think it kills them either. You didn't give up on a crazy, upside 23-year-old prospect that was in the top 30 of your system. Cam Devaney's not that. And this is not me trying to take shots at Cam Devaney. It's just the reality of, are you a big leaguer or not? I don't know. And I don't think this is a Brent Rooker or Ryan O'Hearn situation either. Like, if that were the case, then I think we would have a lot more concern. I don't think that is. And I know people may be jaded by those 2 examples, both those guys being in the All-Star game. I don't see a world where Cam Devaney's playing in an All-Star game in 2 years. But wish him nothing but the best in Pittsburgh. And hopefully he has the opportunity to show, hey, I can hang in the big leagues. Screw you, guy. You're wrong. Okay, we'll see. But we'll see how it goes. Went a little longer than I thought there, but I appreciate everyone, listening to my monologue there for a bit. I will be right back. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to start the mailbag, and it's going to be kind of fun here to start out. We'll do that right after this.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network. Emprise Bank has been with us from the beginning. They were our first network partner, and they believed in the vision of what we were building from the start. I can't speak to any other banks or companies and how they operate, but I can tell you from personal experience and based on the growth of the network you're listening to right now, that if you have banking needs, call our friends at Emprise Bank. We've worked with so many great people there over the years, from Vicky and Aggie to Andrea, Lori, Jackie, Deb, and Aaron, and not to mention so many others that not just supported KC Sports Network, but supported our KCSN Foundation as well. But the best thing that I know is that if I have a question or a problem, no matter how dumb the question is, I know who I'm going to call and who I'm going to talk to, and I know that I'm getting an answer from someone that I can trust, and I know that person is there to help us. That's why Emprise Bank has always been and continues to be our partner in Possible, and they can be yours too. You just have to reach out. If you have a banking need, whether it's business or personal, hit me up. I will connect you directly with the same people that have helped us build KCSN. And that's our friends at Emprise Bank.
Folks, there's nothing that beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching some baseball. And there's no simpler way to get in on the action than by downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. And the best part, Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6, and right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Bonus picks expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Thanks everybody for hanging out here, listening to this episode. If you're an audio only listener, you hear a little bit of a different voice here with me. And if you're watching on YouTube, this is my son Ezra. He's 4 years old. He played his first season of T-Ball, started to take a little bit of a liking to baseball and doing the show. He actually made his debut on the radio with me on 810 a couple of weeks ago, didn't you, buddy? Yeah. He's, even though there's no one watching, he's just, I think, seeing himself on cameras. He's a little nervous. Hey, you got this, buddy, and people are excited to hear you, okay? It's all right. All right. So I appreciate those that left questions on Discord and on Twitter, and those that specifically left questions for my guy Ezra here. It means a lot that you guys were willing to include him. All right, buddy. First question here from Lee87 on Discord. What is your most favorite thing you've ever done with me?
Like, remember when we went to the lemonade stand where all those kids were at?
Oh yeah, when we were at our old house.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
That was a good walk. It was hot that day. It was worth it, wasn't it? I like playing the Ninja Turtle game with you too. That's a lot of fun. Whenever we're getting pretty good at it, aren't we? Who's your favorite character to use on that game?
Probably Leonardo, because he has bigger swords because it's bigger than my head.
That's awesome. All right, this is from Nick Johnston on Discord here. Who is your favorite player on the Royals?
Damn, shoot.
It's all right.
Oh, Bobby.
Oh, Bobby. You're playing. Yeah, Bobby's a good pick. And then you played I said you played your first season of T-ball this year. What was your favorite position to play in T-ball? I think you mean
baseball.
Well, yeah, you're playing baseball, but like what position on the field? Like when you had your glove on fielding, was there a certain spot you like to play?
Like in the middle.
So I kind of like in the pitcher's mound area?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of tough when these kids didn't really play positions. They all chase the ball, but he was actually pretty good at fielding ground balls that were hit to him at the pitcher's mound. It was pretty awesome. I was proud. I loved watching you play this year. All right. So this is from Mike Denny on Twitter here, or on Discord. Now, this is a visual question, and I'll have the uniforms up here.
I am putting down.
I see that. So these are the Royals uniforms up here. He was wondering which one is your favorite. Is it the white one, the gray one, the light blue one, the blue with gray pants, or the dark blue jersey with white pants? Which one's your favorite of those?
That one.
Well, point
in the middle.
Oh, the powder blue one?
Yeah.
The all powder blue? I agree. That's probably the best one. That's the ones they wear on Saturdays. Those were a really good uniform. Sometimes they'll wear them on the road too, which is pretty cool. All right, we got a couple more here for you, dude, and then we'll get you on out of here. All right, this is the most important question that I've asked you so far, okay? And I've given you some time to think about this because I've asked you this before so that you can think of an answer. From Corey Peter on Discord. What dinosaur would make the best baseball player?
Indominus Rex.
Indominus Rex. Do they have like longer arms than a T-Rex?
I'm sure they have like this.
It's a little bit longer. Because I'm worried about a T-Rex because the arms are so long. I don't think they'd be able to swing the bat. But if it's a little longer, then that would make sense.
Yeah, like this. I think they're like this.
Okay. So if they have arms that extend out a little more, that would make sense.
But T-Rex are like...
They are. I think an Ankylosaurus would be the best because they kind of have that like club on the back of their...
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense because it's a little jelly.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a bat. Like I think it would work like a bat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it can't swing because that high.
Yeah, maybe. I guess we'll see.
Daddy, like it can go like this.
Yeah.
This high.
Okay. Now it's the same setup of the question, but what dinosaur would make the best football player? I got a couple answers for this, but I'm curious what you think. It's a good question, Corey. Thank you for this. This is kind of a fun exercise. What do you think, bud?
I'm thinking.
While you're thinking, can I get my answer?
No, I'm good. I think I got a good one that I want to say, but
Go for it.
But Daddy, I'm a little scared to say it out loud.
I'll just say it out loud. You're good, buddy. Yeah, and then just say it. It's all good.
Daddy, I just want to say to you.
Okay, let's run my ear.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a T-Rex, but it has a bumpy head.
Oh, Carnotaurus?
No, it has itty bitty arms at the right here, and it has legs that I'll show you what the this video.
Okay.
It's it actually has and it goes like this.
Well, it's off screen now, but he's trying to demonstrate. I'm not sure which one that is, buddy.
It's
but if it's kind of low to the ground,
it's a T-Rex. That's kind of like an Indominus Rex, but it's kind of scary.
Okay.
It's from the scary movie that it's a scary movie.
Okay, well, maybe we should be watching those scary movies. I have two answers here. I think a Triceratops would be great playing like.
No, I think. Well, what I think is the thing that we were talking about. That I was talking about.
Okay.
What is that? Because it has
it's kind of low to the ground. 4 legs.
Yeah.
Oh, so that
probably 6 legs.
Oh, it'd be kind of hard to tackle. And I also think Velociraptors would be good because they're super fast. So they can play like receiver and go downfield, catch balls from a home.
No, I know because they can run faster. I should have guessed instead of Indominus Rex, Velociraptor, probably blue because he's a raptor.
Oh yeah.
And because raptors are fast, so they could run
run the bases. Oh, for baseball. Oh, that's a great idea. They could be like pinch runners late in games. That would be great. It's actually a good call.
Yeah, and they actually should be at the end because at the end is really cool because you get to run the whole entire time.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Well, hey, buddy, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me. You're really brave for doing this, for being so young and being willing to come on and talk to all of these, great people that listen to my show. Before we get out of here, what do they need to make sure that they do for this video?
But Dad, look here.
Yeah.
You see, there's more here, and then here.
You've all seen himself on camera, but what does everybody need to make sure that they do for the video?
I don't know.
Like and subscribe, right? Can you make sure you tell everyone to do that?
Like and subscribe.
Thanks, buddy. And thank you guys for indulging me so that I could have that little moment. And he got pretty confident as we were going through, so that was pretty great. Thank you very much for your patience with that and letting me have a little bit of fun on the All-Star break with my kid. All right, back to regularly scheduled programming here. Regular mailbag, Corey Peter, double dipping here on Discord. Can you explain the MLB draft in terms that NFL fans will understand? Okay, so there is a lot of different angles here. This one I may go pretty in depth on, and hopefully I make sense while I do it. So the draft, it's a lottery. They changed to a lottery system. So it's a little bit different this year comparing the last couple of years compared to others. It used to be just like the NFL draft where worst team gets the first pick, but to kind of de-incentivize tanking, they went to a lottery. And the lottery in most recent years, the worst teams in baseball have kind of gotten screwed. And they, like the Royals were one of the worst teams in baseball, but they got the 6th pick. The A's were equally as bad, and they got the 5th. And the Guardians, who were, had one of the lower odds, like in the teens for the lottery, ended up getting the number 1 pick. So it changes every year, based on like the And you can only be in the top 10 for like, I think 3 years in a row before you are not eligible for a top 10 lottery pick. It's why the White Sox were one of the worst teams ever in baseball, the worst team ever in baseball, were not eligible for a top 10 pick. And they couldn't have the best odds in lottery. It's why the Nationals won it. And then it was the Angels and the Mariners who were, a few games below 500, but they ended up getting the third overall pick. So that's the way it worked out. The Cardinals were middling last year. They got the fifth pick. So it changes that way. The biggest difference in the way that the MLB draft is handled compared to the NFL draft is every pick in the first 10 rounds, there's 20 rounds, every pick 1 through 10 has a slot value to it, meaning like your pick value is X amount, right? And now the NFL is kind of this way. So there's not a lot of like haggling on contract numbers. It's just a matter of like guarantees and those sort of things. But every pick is valued from the top all the way to the last pick of the 10th round. And every team has a certain allotment of money based on their slot. From where the Royals picked at 23 until the 10th round, they have a certain amount of money. It was around $12 million. There were some other numbers in there, but I'll use 12 just as an example. And the slot value for the 23rd pick was $3.85 million. That is what the pick is valued at. That does not mean you have to pay that. You can move money around. And this is where when you hear teams talk about slot games, underslotting, overslotting, it depends on the player and who you're picking and how you decide to move your money. Teams spend that amount. They don't spend less. If they underslot 3 picks, they aren't spending less. They're just moving money around to pay somebody a little extra later in the draft. To maybe get a high school kid away from their college commitment. Like, hey, we'll give you an extra $600,000 that we saved up from the previous 3 picks to take you here. Or if you really want to get, like, say, a high school kid or a draft eligible sophomore is where you'll see overslot picks as well. We're like, hey, that pick may be $3.85 million for the Royals, but if they wanted a draft eligible sophomore or a high school kid that they were worried about being able to sign, hey, we'll give you $4.2 million. And then you have to make some money savers later. So you kind of work the draft that way. And a lot of the ways that teams underslot is by taking college seniors. That's the most predominant underslot you'll see because they don't have leverage. Like, they can't go back to school or they're going pro in something other than sports. So you can kind of just throw money at them and go, hey, here's $150K, come play for us. The Royals did that with their 4th round pick. I think he's the only one that has signed to this point. Nolan Sailors from Creighton is a good example of this. So the slot value for the 4th round was a little over $582,000. He signed for $150,000. So think about the savings, or you save $432,000 by signing a college senior there. They did that with Tyreek Kemp at Baylor. He was a senior. Brooks Bryan was a junior. They signed a bunch of these guys in those middle rounds, 1 through 10, to save money because they took 2 high school guys at the top, and Sean Gamble and Josh Hammond. Those guys are going to command a little bit more money or at slot value, so you got to move it around a little bit. Justin Lampkin at $1.16 million is probably going to sign for closer to $1 million or less, I would guess. Cameron Millar, who is the 3rd round pick, who was a high school kid committed to Arizona. His slot's $788,500. He's probably going to get closer to $1 million to come to the Royals to get him away from that firm college commitment. So that's the way it all works. But the teams are still going to spend all of their money. The last part about the draft is you're not often spending for you're not drafting for immediate need because you're in the minor leagues. Like, in the minor leagues exist, it's not like you're often taking best player available or you're taking the top guy on the board is going to move quickly. Sometimes it works that way. Like when Jack Caglione falls in your lap. Yeah, you're going to take that guy and he's going to move quickly. But sometimes it is taking a Frank Mazzucato in the first round and getting him for $2 million under slot to then go and sign Carter Jensen and Ben Kudrna, who had commitments to LSU. You're like, hey, here's somewhere in the range of like $1 million extra for slot. Come play for us. And then you go and get them. And the reason you do that is because you're paying them a little more right now. But if those guys are in college for 3 years, they're going to make way more money, and you're probably not going to be able to pick them in 3 years. So it becomes a situation of what do you value in your organization? Sometimes it's, you're drafting for type, for fit, organizationally. A guy that fits how you're, that kind of fits your player development mold is often what it is. With Brian Bridges, it's been a lot of at worst reliever pitchers, mainly college pitchers with reliever floors, meaning they have 2+ pitches and are working on third, and they can start, but at worst they're a reliever. We saw this last season with the way the Royals picked. They drafted, outside of Drew Beam, they drafted LP Langevin, who's a reliever, AJ Causey, who's a reliever, Dennis Kalarin, who's a reliever. Nate Ackenhausen is starting. Tommy Molsky is mostly a reliever. So you're trying to build your system with a bunch of different types of pitchers that have plus stuff, good fastball shapes. It's a much different now than it was with the previous regime and how they're handling the pitching side. So it's a little bit different, but I think it's inherently a good thing with how they're handling it. And they're taking swings on big tools. Like Blake Mitchell, I don't know if it'll work, but the dude's got big time power and is really good behind the plate. It's a swing on tools. Jack Aglione, 80 grade power. Yeah, you're going to take a swing on that tool. Sean Gamble is a very good athlete with plus speed, can go and play center field. Some concerns about maybe the ability to hit, but you're taking a swing on the tools that he hits the ball hard, hits the ball for some power. Josh Hammond similarly, and you're swinging on that rather than maybe taking the safer pick that is going to be a big leaguer, but like in what role? Like, is it a Kyle Isbell? Is it a Nick Lofton? Or is it like a Bobby Witt Jr. where you're just going to bet on the tools and let the tools play out? So there's a couple different ways how MLB draft works compared to NFL, and I hope that all made sense. And thanks for letting me ramble on that for about 7 minutes. Matt McMahill on Discord. How do those 2 steals get overturned with the videos we saw? And how do we fix the system such that it is more closely resembles the spirit of the game? Both throws beat the bag by a mile and neither slid through the bag. At Danny Penn _2 asked a similar question on Twitter. So I'm going to lump those together. This is a great question because I do think there has to be some sort of nuance with replay. And it mainly falls under the how do we talk about confirmed versus stands versus overturned. To me, especially the Bobby one on Saturday, there was not, in any angle I saw or anyone else in the press box that saw, that there was indisputable video evidence that shows he popped off the bag while the tag was on. I couldn't see it anywhere. No one else I talked to could see where he came off the bag. So again, as Jake Eisberg put it, we're legislating millimeters. There was a spot where Tyler Tolbert popped off the bag a little, but I don't know if there was still enough to overturn in that situation either. So you're legislating like that far off the bag. That has been a safe call forever in baseball. Unless it is blatantly obvious that they slid over the bag and they popped up trying to avoid a tag, whatever. But both throws beat the throw, and neither guy slid too far beyond the bag. They slid over the bag, which is okay. That's more taught now, so you don't jam your wrist or fingers, and you're not going to hurt yourself like slamming into the bag. That's how it's taught now, and I don't think that's terrible. There are times where guys slide too far and they slide over, but that's kind of the risk you run diving head first, stealing second base. And I don't think either guy would have been safe if they slid feet first either. So the best option is slide head first. You slide onto the bag. Both guys beat the throw. Both guys beat the tag initially. and then popped up millimeters. Like, to me, it is not within the spirit of the rule. And I don't believe that's what replay is for. It's like in the NFL when you're looking at the guy that's inbounds versus out of bounds, and you're looking at, I mean, the finest of margins. And that's not necessarily like the Isaiah Likely one, because he very clearly did step on the line. But like, there are certain spots where I'm like, is this really what we need replay for? And I don't think it is. Like that, not that it's not a reviewable call, but when it's like that, I don't think it's within the spirit of the rule to overturn the safe call. Now, if they called an out, I think the out call probably stays. But it's hard to tell because both guys were safe, and because they popped off the bag a hair, they're called out. I thought I understood the Tyler Tolbert one. I thought the Bobby Wood Jr. one was incomprehensible and a horrible call. Another one from Matt McMahill. After the Mets series, what is your feel for the Royals being buyers versus sellers at the deadline? Is it likely a combination of both? I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. I mean, hell, they bought Adam Frazier. Whether you believe it or not, that is technically making a trade to buy. But I do think it is going to be a combination of both. They're going to trade guys that have either expiring contracts or, contracts that are not egregious that teams can take on, and get some stuff back with, maybe a controllable arm, mainly controllable bat, either a young guy or an established guy, and kind of soft sell it. And I think that's the avenue you need to go. This window is not closed. This team is not going to be, out of contention for years now. It's not like this was the last year, like 2017, where they're not going to win it again for a long time. Like, we got to sell all assets now. But it is a situation where you're probably not going to be in contention. So now here's how you got to handle it. And I think it is trading like a Seth Lugo. It's a Michael Lorenzen. It's maybe a Carlos Estevez. You listen on a Chris Bubich and let them blow you away. And it's like those types of guys. A lot of the pitchers, there really aren't many position players that you would even think about trading right now. But I think they do a little bit of both, and a couple of those guys could actually net you some valuable assets for 2026 and beyond. Lee 87, what are your top 5 favorite states and why? This is like the one question that we got that was random, and I do appreciate that. Number 1 for me, I loved, I'm just going to think about the places that I live, because I actually did lived in 4 different states, but whatever. 5 technically. In no particular order, Washington State, because I lived out there for 6 years. That's where I went to my first baseball games. The Mariners and the Kingdome. I loved it when we lived out there when I was a kid. I was born in Kentucky, so I'll throw that on there. Louisville Slugger Museum, Kentucky Derby, all that. I'll go to Oklahoma just because hey, it's where I met my wife, so it's obviously got to be on the list somewhere. I've lived in Kansas for the majority of my life, and I lived in Springfield for like 2 years, so when I was like super, super young. So I guess that's 5. We'll call it there. Don't have many major reasons why Kansas is just home. It's been home for me since like 2008, and that's the longest I lived anywhere by a wide margin after, moving around quite a bit when I was a kid. Another one from Lee 87. How do you feel about the All-Star game? And do you agree with some who said they're turning it into the Savannah Bananas? I thought some of the Phillies players lost the plot a little bit. I understand they were defending Christopher Sanchez, who did not get the All-Star nod, and Jacob Mizorowski did. I talked a little bit about that in the preamble, where he only gets 5 outings and he's an all-star. Like, I understand it's a television product. I think as Nick Wright mentions, like, we're not far from polar bears ice skating. Like, this is all entertainment. It's television. Like, you got to get, people want to watch guys throw hard fastballs, and like Mizorowski will draw some eyeballs because people are like, this dude been here for how long? And he's an all-star. Okay, let's see what he's got. And, you see the electricity that he has. But I do think you got to, and this may be a little bit an old man opinion, but like, you got to have a little dirt under your spikes. Like, Skeens didn't have much, but he also had a little bit of pedigree, and he had at least 10 or 11 starts. Like, he showed, like, he's an all-star worthy pitcher, but he just didn't have it. He just wasn't there for a long time, but he ended up getting in. Mizorowski, I don't think was anywhere close. I don't think he should have been. But it's not necessarily that. Like, this is all entertainment, and it's an exhibition. Like, I don't want to see the swing off in the regular season, but for a game like this, hell yeah. Like, that is awesome entertainment. But I don't think that there's a time and place for all of it. some of the mic'd up stuff I'm not a huge fan of, but I understand why guys do it. Like there's a monetary incentive to be mic'd up for the game, and I think it's like $15,000 I saw. But no, I got that. A lot of that was just guys being upset. Phillies being upset that Christopher Sanchez didn't make it, which I thought was a totally fair opinion to have. Most memorable Vinny Pasquantino quote. That dude went on a heater on Twitter during the home run derby. It was awesome. The Cal Raleigh one where he's like, "Oh, hey, look, I'm Cal Raleigh. I'm awesome. Screw you." Like, that was hilarious. And like the guy is so objectively funny, and he's going to be, whenever his career is done, which I hope is in like 10 years, that guy's going to have a hell of a career in baseball media if he wants it, because that guy is going to be a color commentator somewhere or an analyst, and people are going to love that guy, wherever he ends up working post-career, because it's awesome. Mike Denny, if you could describe one general change that would turn around the Royals season, what would you want to see? Just hit with runners in scoring position. Like, that changes so much. Like, your offense doesn't have to be spectacular, but if you come through in the clutch, it's going to win you a lot more ball games. How many times have we talked this year that, games where 0 for 7, 2 for 10, 1 for 9 with runners on, and you lose by 1. Like, and the Royals are going to still be in a lot of these games with the pitching that they have, even if they sell. Like, they're still going to keep themselves in games. So, I mean, that has to be the change. It's just finding a way to be more productive and clutch when runners are in scoring position to help you win a couple of ball games. Ryan Rain, I hope I said that last name right on Twitter, is the fact that the Royals have the second weakest strength of schedule the rest of the year inspire any more confidence that they could manage to the very fine line of buying and selling while still making the playoffs? Yes and no. It doesn't necessarily inspire confidence, because we've seen this team lay eggs against the White Sox and the A's and other teams that are not great. Now they beat the crap out of the Pirates, and that does help. But I don't know, a lot of those games where they're still got a bunch of in-division games. You still got to play the Tigers. You still got to go, to Boston. They're still got to play the Blue Jays twice. Like, there are still a lot of teams that are very good on their schedule still. So it's kind of a tricky spot. I'm not necessarily in on this team contending, but I do think buying and selling is what they are going to do regardless, because it's not like this year, it may not happen, but they're still going to try and put themselves in a spot where they can be competitive in 26 and contend in still what I would imagine to be a very muddy American League next year too, because it still is. At Royals Data Dugout on Twitter, one of my favorite accounts on there. A Seth Lugo deal felt like an inevitability a couple of weeks ago. Do the Royals move him at the deadline? I do think they do, and they should. Even if you think you're still going to find a way to be competitive in the wild card, I think you can trade Seth Lugo and still get a decent enough asset to help you right now, like a controllable bat of some kind, maybe, depending on the team, that can help you moving forward. With that player option that he's got at the end of this season, he's going to decline the player option and go to free agency. I wouldn't blame him at all if he did, because he's making $15 million right now, which I know, grand scheme of things, that's a really good chunk of change, but market value for a high-level pitcher that was the runner-up at Cy Young and is going to probably get top 10 Cy Young votes this year, he's worth a lot more than that. Probably can get 22 to 25 on the open market next year on a 2 or 3 year deal. So I think you move him, because I don't think the Royals are going to swim in that pond when it comes to the not the years, but the money. Like, they gave Michael Wacha a 3 year deal at 34, but it was $17 million. Like, Lugo's going to get more than that, because there's just not as much wear and tear on his arm compared to Wacha, who's been a starter his whole career, and Lugo, who spent the first 8 years of his big league career, as a reliever. And now, he's been a high level starter for 2.5, 3 years. He's still probably got another year or two in him before there's like a steep decline when he hits his late 30s. He'll be 38, something like that at the end of a 3 year deal. So I do think they end up moving him, and I think they should. Even if you still think the Royals can be competitive, it would be the right thing to do, because there's a pretty good shot you're not going to be able to re-sign him for next season. KC Sports Kingdom 1 on Twitter is Owen Cassie attainable, and is he who we want? So this is a guy that's been talked about a bunch because of the Cubs' alleged reported interest in acquiring Seth Lugo. Those want to know, Owen KC is 23 years old. He's an outfielder in the Cubs system. He's one of their top prospects. Let me pull up Pipeline here. That'll give me an idea where he's ranked. I believe he's one of their top 3. But I want to make sure that I get this right for you guys here. Oh, he is their number 1 prospect. I'm just going to tell you right now, the Royals aren't getting a number 1 prospect for Seth Lugo. As good as Seth Lugo is, and even if it is a bit of a buyer's market, they're not getting a number 1 prospect. I don't see that happening. But for the sake of it, Owen Casey slashing 278, 386, 575 this year in AAA. The second go round in AAA. 143 weighted runs created plus on the year, 19 homers, 42 RBIs, striking out 30%. That's not great, but he is walking 14%. So I understand the idea of like trying to go and swing on a guy that's 23 years old. So maybe some swing and miss, but obviously the ceiling is pretty high. Some serious raw power, can handle the field all right. It's definitely power over hit, and if you got those types of swing and miss concerns, we get the swing and strike rate, because they got a little bit of that data there. Swing and strike rate's actually gone down a little bit, but that's still like the contact rate is like 71. I'd want to see that be a little bit higher. The end zone is 81. That's fine. And his chase has gone down a little bit, but the strikeout rate's still higher than I'd like it to be. So just something to monitor. But obviously, like if the Cubs are offering, you don't turn it down. Never let never talk your enemy out of making a mistake. But if they're offering that, that's great. But I don't think that's the return. And there's kind of a related question here from Royals DLH. How much does Lugo's 2026 player option affect the return in the trade? It could, because at that point he's effectively a rental, and rental starting pitchers don't go for what they used to. And Lugo, I don't think is part of that like upper tier. He may be one of the best guys that gets traded, but I don't think teams are going to overpay for Seth Lugo. In this case, maybe a team that's a little desperate. Maybe like the Cubs that are trying to get back into some contention, who have been great and just need a steady hand. Maybe they are willing to overpay a little bit. It also depends on, hey, if this team is willing to extend him beyond this season, like they have it in their books to try and get, say it is the Cubs, right? They're like, hey, we'll trade for him. And then they start the conversation of we could, we will renegotiate at the end of the season to keep you around. Maybe that adds to the return a little bit. Like, hey, we're willing to give up a little more because it's a year and a half, or it ends up being 2 to 3 years of Lugo. So that's certainly worth consideration there. Last question here. Thank you everybody that left questions on Discord, Twitter. Made for a fun night for me. Being able to talk about some of this stuff. From at Pets and Pucks on Twitter. Bubic has thrown 108 and 2/3 innings to this point with a possible 11-12 starts remaining. What do you think the Royals will dial back his workload the rest of the way? How many innings do you think they're willing to let him throw? I have not heard anything regarding them putting kind of kid gloves on the rest of the season. This is a bit of a cop-out, but it really depends on if they buy or sell. Like if they truly sell off and are like, hey, it's just like we're kind of punting the rest of the year, I wouldn't be shocked if they shut him down in September. And at that point, it's probably 150-ish innings. But if they're like, hey, we still want to be competitive and see what we can do in the kind of buy and sell mode, and they're like, hey, we need you to pick up, we sell, say Lugo's gone, and it's a rotation of Waka, potentially Reagan's, Bubic, and Noah Cameron with a fifth, maybe Lorenzen's still around. Hey, we need you to pick up some of the slack from Lugo now being gone. And he'll have to 175, 180 innings. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they let him do it. And I know that he would probably push for it because he's a really competitive guy. I don't know if it's always in the best interest, especially with a contract year coming up, if maybe his camp wants to be cautious. So kind of playing both sides of this. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Royals really fall out of it, if they shut him down or just limit his workload. But if they get hot out of the All-Star break and go for it, then he's going to be at the forefront of this rotation and going to be a big reason why they're able to make a push. But we'll see. Thank you guys very much for listening to this and letting my son hop on. That meant a lot to me. Not going to do that all the time. It's certainly just All-Star break. Let's do something a little fun, do something a little different. Wanted to get him on here and have some fun. That was a cool little moment that I always have. Obviously, it's on Twitter. It's on YouTube, so be there forever. I will talk to you guys probably tomorrow night, Thursday night. If not, I'll get something up Friday. There'll be something like Friday. It just depends on how the rest of the week goes. But I'll let y'all know. More than likely, live at 8:30, we'll preview this series against the Miami Marlins and kind of outline the next 2 weeks. It's the biggest 2 weeks of the season with the deadline being there and the Royals still hanging in it, even if maybe they aren't quite good enough, but they're still right there. Maybe they can delude themselves into it. We'll see. We'll talk soon. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.